This is Brad.
I'm Scott.
Welcome to Curiosity.
And we're here with Alfredo. Welcome to the show, man.
Hello, thank you for having me. This is great.
Super stoked to have you. Alfredo, so we're here at Tech Rodeo. We're super stoked to be experiencing the evolution of Tech Rodeo over the past several years now. Originally came into existence in 2019.
Yes.
And we're now in 2023. So
I remember when it was a back of the napkin idea, Joey Sanchez and those guys, and they were just thinking about it. And they came out and said, hey, would you want to participate and help out? I said, whatever you need, I'll volunteer, I'll help out. So it's been incredible to see where it is today with 1,800 people registered, so many events, too many events to go to all of them. So it's a great thing to see.
Yeah, it's super exciting. I remember that origin story well. I was smack in the middle of that moment. We were at Bayou and Bottles at the Four Seasons and talking about just dreaming together on how Houston needs a space and a place to really bring together a incredible diversity of minds and humans to just share story and ideas. And
the first one ever done was just before the pandemic settled in. Was that Rodeo 2020? Like they did it, and then like the rest of the rodeo shut down.
Yes.
And then the one the year after was completely virtual.
Yeah. So 2020 was when it started. Correct. Yeah. The idea formed.
Yeah, earlier
was
than that.
2019.
Yeah.
It was actually part of the inspiration was from Harvest Summit, which was a conference on the West Coast in the Sonoma area. And I had just gotten back from that, and I was just super inspired by it. And again, there was a group of us just kind of riffing on like, we need something like this for Houston. What does that look like? And then, Joey really took that and ran with it. And this whole brand of Tech Rodeo came in, new group leaned in and helped with the branding. I mean, it was really the story of tech and innovation in Houston in all its glory. People just rolling up their sleeves, digging their boots in the metaphorical dirt, and just figuring it out together.
It's lovely. Alfredo, like what's your goal in all of this? Kind of what's next for Houston?
That's a really interesting question. I have 4 kids.
Sure.
My oldest
Same.
kid is 10, and my youngest is 3. 3 boys and 1 girl. And so whenever, I was growing up, I was born in Mexico. I grew up in Mexico, border Ciudad Juarez with El Paso, Texas. I didn't have the big opportunities that you have in a Houston, in a, New York, Los Angeles, that sort of thing. And so being here, I want my kids to be able to grow up with all of that innovation, technology, that they can do anything they want to do, right? So that's why I decided to, volunteer and get involved and help out with the ecosystem and all of these things here in Houston, just so that we can have, a better city, better opportunities for the next generation, right? That can stay here. I would love for my kids to say, this is the place that I want to stay. I want to be here. I want to grow up here. I want to go to school here. I don't have to go anywhere, right? So that's, I think, the ultimate, or the ultimate goal, the long-term goal. The short-term goal, I have 2, right? So right now, I am the Chief Innovation Officer for Blue People. We are a custom software development shop, and we moved from Mexico about a year and a half ago. We moved operations to Houston, and we just want to grow, right? We want to help, we want to support, we want to build digital solutions, and we want to grow. So that's an immediate goal. And then I also have a startup on the side. My startup is called Cloche. Today at the Tech Rodeo, Greentown Labs, we have a Tech and Tequila Talk. And we're going to be launching Cloche. It's a restaurant ordering system. There'll be a couple more announcements around that, but that's my second goal. Try to have a little bit of a startup and ride that founder kind of mentality myself. So Cloche, one of the things that we all learned during the pandemic is that you can go to a restaurant, you can use QR codes, you can order online, you can get groceries delivered, all of that. So I think a lot of folks figured out that their phone can be a really good tool for getting food, getting things that you need. So what we're doing is we're allowing consumers to go to a restaurant, scan a QR code at the table where you're at, order right there, look at the menu, you're able to order your food, and the food just shows up, right? So there's no longer that whole need of having to wait for a waiter to come up, give you your waters and all of that, or have to worry about, are they going to get my order correctly? Or, I want to make certain, customizations. So you're able to do all of that on the phone.
Well, super kudos, man. That's really exciting.
Love it.
And I hope that the spark of the journey is only the beginning of something really awesome. It's amazing.
We think so. We've been talking to a lot of folks, and they're saying, obviously, this is not for every restaurant out there. You're going to want to have some of those fancy restaurants with the experience, but there's a lot of places where you have a lunch, rush, or a food truck, or a bar where you really just want to get your food and go, right?
Yeah.
Or just get your food, sit down, eat, pay, and go. No more waiting, right? So giving kind of that option to consumers is really going to be cool.
You nailed it. It's having the optionality and a bit more dimension in what that dining experience can be, which I'd imagine is going to be cool to kind of have a little more variety in how different humans have that experience. So it creates more diversity in the experience, which is cool. Where does the name come from?
So cloche is the top that you put on top of a plate in a fancy dinner. That's a cloche. So we just decided to call it cloche. It's one of those words, kind of like a Uber or a Google type of word, where it's one word. You'll recognize it. Now that you know what it is, you won't forget it ever again. And so when you see the cloche, when you see the logo, when you see, you'll hear about cloche, you'll know what it is, right? So you'll go into your phone, get the app, order, and go from there.
So in the spirit of curiosity, what sparked this idea?
This is actually, I'm taking a lot of the credit here. My business partner, he's the one that came up with the idea. He's a strategy mastermind, and he had kind of that experience at restaurants where they were getting his orders wrong. He hated waiting for waiters to come and get the order and all of that. And so he had the idea, and he's not a technology guy. So he came to me and said, hey, I know that you've started a company before. I know that you're in technology. You work for Blue people who can actually develop technology. Can you help me with this? So the idea came from my business partner.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's great.
And it's cool, like Software Story, obviously here in Houston. There's a lot of different kinds of startup activity happening in Houston sort of broadly. Can you talk just a bit about like where you see startup development resources for software, venture capital opportunities here? Like what's happening, what's next, what needs to change to make it all come to fruition faster?
That's a great question because, and I've been thinking a lot about that. As a Chief Innovation Officer for Blue People, I do get a lot of questions from founders, from small companies. Hey, can you help me develop this code or this app or this website, this digital solution? And can I give you some equity so that you can do it for free and we'll figure out later? And I said, well, it's kind of a bet, right? And obviously we're trying to run a business, so you can't take all of those bets. Sure. So the one really good thing this morning, actually, we had a conversation with Houston Exponential, and they brought a bunch of folks in the room to talk about how do we solve some of those challenges, right? Because there are venture capitalists, there is money in Houston. You just need to go to know where to find it, where to go get it. So to answer your question, I think in the next year and a half, 2 years, a lot of our founders are going to start to wake up and say, I don't need to go get free development. I can go get money. I can go get the resources that I need, develop my idea, and launch it and go from there. So just being in the ecosystem and seeing how many questions and how many founders and how many ideas are out there that just haven't been executed on, I think we're going to see a little bit of a turning of the tide in the next, like I said, year and a half of people really going. And hopefully a lot of those turn into, those $1 billion ideas in the near future.
That's an interesting point. I was listening to one of the panels yesterday around the role of VC and diversity in Houston, and there were some different perspectives being shared. And then in some conversations in the room as well, there were some very honest conversations about, and as we observe the ecosystem and how it's evolved, right? I mean, especially in the past 5-6 years now, obviously there were many humans, shoulders of giants kind of moments long before that helped build us to where we are. But I would say, the first real loud, bold flag that was really in the ground was around 2017 timeframe, right? Yeah. And now we're in 2023. Amazing to see. What I'd be curious about, kind of based on the conversations that I heard, is like, yes, look at how far we've come, and we're closer than we've ever been, as Scott likes to say, and we have a ways to go. Yes. And so a lot of the formative years were a beautiful blend of bringing together all kinds of kind, right? From academia to corporations to VC to founders to all sorts of groups. But the percentages of that weighed, I think, a bit differently based on where you were in that journey, right? And the voice of the founder, from what I keep hearing, wasn't as heard or listened to. Right. It appears that's changing from what I'm hearing from founders. However, the VC piece specifically seems to still be on the rise. That hasn't quite matured yet. And I'd be curious from your experience, is that what you're seeing as well? Is it an opportunity space, or is there already momentum being built around that?
There's definitely momentum, but I agree with you that for the last 5 years or so, the city of Houston has focused on building, and greater Houston, if you will, on building the resources from the spaces like the Cannon and the Ion, right, to all the accelerators, all of the schools having the right programs in place, a lot of development companies like myself coming into Houston to help and actually do some of that technology development. All of those resources are now available, right? Pair that up with, you have all of the founders, you have all of the ideas, you have entrepreneurship, you have all of that. And so you have the ideas and you have the way to make that idea a reality. Now you just need a little bit of that kick, meaning that backing, that somebody believing in you, that money to get into that, to get it out the door. And so I think, like you said, that momentum is carrying. And we're seeing a lot more of it. Every other day we actually work out of common desk there at the Ion, and we see events, once, twice a month about, how to go start up a company, how to go request the right amount of money, how to evaluate your company, that sort of thing. So I think we have a lot of momentum, and that's why I believe in the next, year and a half, 2 years or so, we're going to see a lot of turning that tide of seeing. Folks had that idea a little bit along, 4, 5, 6, 8 months ago. Now we're seeing them come to life and doing some of those announcements. Kind of like the announcement that we're going to do today for Cloche. You're going to see a lot of those coming in the next, like I said, year and a half or so.
That's so exciting. That's what I think. So, and I want to come back to that moment and momentum conversation in just a second. But where and this conversation came up yesterday, in your experience, where does a human with an idea to a early stage founder, where do they go? Like, how do they find these venture capitalists? Like, where is the density of that in your experience?
I think we are collectively all working on getting some sort of, directory, resource, way to have that more openly available. They're out there, but you have to know the right people and all of that.
But do you show up at the Ion and just walk in the door? Do you go to the Cannon? Do you pop over to Launchpad?
Yeah, my advice is ask, right?
Just start asking.
Yeah, just go to the Ion, go to the Cannon, go to those places, go to the events, show up, do the networking, right? And even Cup of Joey, right? Every Friday morning, there's 4, 5, 6 VCs there every morning, just hanging out, seeing, what somebody's going to pitch.
It's probably a great place to start, actually. Right. Pop over to Cup of Joey and kick off there.
Yeah.
So coming back real quick to your moment and momentum narrative, one of my favorite talks I ever heard at South by Southwest in 2019 was titled Moment, Momentum, Movement, which I've probably shared with you before. And I call it the M03 model today, and it's evolved and adapted and changed. I'm excited to be here with Tech Rodeo right now. What I think about in that journey is the moment. A lot of that, when I think about the GHP and John Nordby leading that strategy, and Amanda Edwards on the mayor side, and then Accenture and Brian Richards, leading the strategy, and all those humans coming together to kind of be that tip of the spear, corporate to academia, to VCs, to individual contributors, to you name it, right? To freelancers, to startups. It was so freaking cool. That was like that moment. right? And then the momentum, like you said, has it been that infrastructure that has been built over the past 5-6 years. The question, maybe to round us out today, is like, what do you see to be the next big movement that happens in Houston through our tech and innovation ecosystem?
You know, I think that tech and innovation is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's the entire year. But the Tech Rodeo idea, right, that should be our South by Southwest, right? We are a gigantic city that can support those types of events. You know, we've had the Super Bowl, we've had the World Cup coming a couple of years, we've had the Final Four, college football playoff. We can do big events, right? And so I believe the Tech Rodeo is going to get there to be the South by Southwest. And having that week long, maybe it's going to be a week and a half, big event of having people from out of town coming into Houston, seeing what we have here, is going to be, carry the momentum forward. Because one of the issues that we have that we're trying to solve here is there's a lot of good stuff going on in Houston, but outside of Houston, nobody knows. Right.
That's one thing that's exciting about this. I was talking with people yesterday at the Ion for the space track. There were people from around the country who came in to attend Tech Rodeo who had not ever been to Houston, Texas before. I was like, that is incredible. We're drawing a crowd across the country to show up and check this thing out. Like, it's gone that viral. And these are people who didn't even know Houston. They just knew Tech Rodeo. Yep. I mean, they knew of Houston. Obviously, we're a huge city. But in that sense, it was crazy cool.
Sadly, we can't carry forward. An hour and 15 minutes is sort of short for us, and 15 minutes is particularly short, but amazing things happening.
Thanks for spending time with us.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you for having
me. Stay well.
Boom.
Thank you for listening. Join Brad and Scott next time on the Curiosity Podcast.